Um, my question is, I just want to know, what do you think it's for the three of you, for the post-crisis approach, since we're surrounded by all the countries, and I'm talking about the people, not the governments. If we're going to approach the people now, then they were brainwashed into hating us. They were brainwashed into thinking that we're the evil ones. How are we going to take that and change their point of views, especially since they locked all kind of communication? That's it.
I would like to answer that question.
Well, I can at least start. I mean, I think it kind of builds really nicely off of this idea of how it is that the role of the individual citizen is playing out in foreign policy circles and in diplomacy internationally today. So, you know, it's almost as though we're entering an era now where each of us are unofficial ambassadors of our countries in a way more powerful way than we ever have been before. You know, you go back to a time in history when only the elite would travel, so the elite maybe represented their countries, but not your average citizen. Then we entered a wave of more of a democratization of travel, you know, where people could go and study abroad and take family vacations. Now, in a social media world, every single connected individual is an unofficial ambassador of their country, or of their environment, or where they're from. But what fascinates me is that the official foreign policy community hasn't yet quite woken up to harnessing that power. The best way now to, you know, handle this situation is actually, I would say, less at the authority diplomatic level and more, as you describe, at the citizen-to-citizen dialogue level. But I think, like anything, any kind of movement for change, you need some kind of marching orders. You know, you need somebody, maybe it's ILQ. You need some kind of organization helping people to say, look, you know, when you're representing yourselves or our country online, we need you, you know, do this to help us to, you know, to share this message. One of America's prouder moments in history would have been the post-World War II period. And its relationship, rebuilding its relationship with Germany, where, you know, essentially the US government made a very concerted effort to say, rather than punish the Germans for World War II, we need to start over again, but that's going to take all of us. And so all kinds of programs were built in terms of, you know, exchange programs, study programs. I've even benefited from that, spending a week learning how foreign policy made is in DC with a group of Germans. I mean, that is still going on decades later, that kind of relationship. So it takes that kind of understanding of the balancing act between your official voices of the government and your unofficial voices of volunteers who are representing this place. But I think really bringing that down into the values and helping to raise awareness of people that every single time your voice is out there on social media, you know, people are going to have an opportunity to learn from you about what it is that you stand for. And that's not going to play out in every moment of our lives, but we do need to think about that, actually. And I don't think that our foreign ministries have yet gotten really good at understanding how to harness that and what that can mean for them.
Back to what I said before, I think keep doing what you've been doing, being tolerant, being open, listening to the other side, whatever their point of view is. And I think what Qatar needs to do is keep building internally. And also, obviously, since it discovered that it has a lot of friends all over the world, keep working on that. It's going to take time for this to be cleaned up with the people, because you said the people, and that's the most dangerous part of this crisis. But I think people are not stupid. You've got part of the people who are really brainwashed, who are ignorant, but who will follow the trend if it changes, because they don't have real information. But you have a portion of people who may be silent now, and they'll be silent for a while, because they are silenced because if they say what they really think, they will be punished for it. So they probably going to stay silent for a long time, but when time comes, they will be your best partner to work on rebuilding this partnership again with the neighboring countries. And of course, it's the same tribe and the same blood and the same culture, so it won't be that difficult once those barriers actually are broken. I think the best thing to do is not to stop and think about it, rather to continue walking and doing what you're doing and become stronger from inside, because that's what is going to make Qatar stronger outside.
First of all, thank you for your comment. I think what you brought up is the most important point in all of this. The social fabric in the GCC has, I think this is the first time in history where you know, a disagreement, a very big disagreement between governments involved, you know, every part of society, and every part of society was targeted. Of course, this issue affected a lot. I mean, all of you probably heard some of the stories. We've seen the reports. I've seen thousands of cases, and this might go up to 13 to 13,000, affect 13 to 14,000 people, with different, you know, whether it's family, whether it's, you know, working here. I mean, one Qatari citizen who's married and living in the UAE, he's never lived in Qatar for 25 years, and they just told him to leave, and he has no properties here, he has no income here, and this is one case, and so that will take. That's something we're really, as GCO, thinking about since the start of the issue. This will take a lot of time. This is obviously a decision by them that they took. This is not something they just did randomly. This was a decision at the highest levels that got implemented. I don't know whether it was thought of. I don't think it was thought of a lot once they did it, because then they started backing down a few days later with the support of some, of course, governments from outside the region and other Arab, of course, states. Kuwait was the first in supporting and just, you know, toning down from that side. So the scar has been done now. It will take a time, and I think we'll need everyone to work on it from society. But thank you for bringing that up. That's actually, I think, the most important issue that will take some time to resolve. I don't think you can do. There isn't a manual for that, because, as I told you, this is the first time in the GCC's history where this happens. We can use examples, of course, from the past to resolve this, but this will take, you know, some work to help. I mean, resolve completely.